Hello and welcome to the Rabblecast. My name is Eric Hernandez,
And I'm Doug.
and we welcome you to episode number 640. If you can still hear the sirens and nonsense in the background, I'm picking it up on my headphones. I don't know if you can hear it, but apparently there's something going on in town, so just try to ignore it as we get to this intro. On this episode, we jump back into the world of wrestling. I say jump back in because, well, it's always fun just to hit the news boards, find out what's going on as far as the headlines, and just try to talk about and give our 2 cents. Doug and I talk about the upcoming Royal Rumble, the different plans, the different rumors that were leaked, specifically some of the entrants. Well, I shouldn't say we didn't talk about the entrance. I stayed away from the entrance. The rumors at the very least that are going to be leading up to the Rumble itself and leading into Mania and how that's all going to play out. And then Doug also educated me on the current lawsuit with Vince McMahon, which, warning, it's not a pretty lawsuit that's going on. The individual who's filed the lawsuit had some horrendous stuff happen to them. And if you want to find out more information on it, look it up. I'm sure it's going to be ongoing at this point. So we'll see how that all plays out. But we're trying to focus on the wrestling news itself, not Vince McMahon's shenanigans. Is that a fair way to put it?
You keep cutting out on me. It was a very minor at the beginning of the episode, getting worse and worse.
Oh,
Can you hear
okay.
me?
Well, I can hear you now. Let's just get through this.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jesus Christ.
We are brought to you by InsidePulse.com. You can find us under the various different sections: games, comic books, TV, celebrities, and wrestling. Movies as well. You can find us over at Rabblecast.libsyn.com. Check us out on YouTube at Rabblecast. Check out the Rabblecast Facebook fan page. Send us a tweet at Rabblecast and email us, rabblecast@gmail.com. We try to make it simple, Rabblecast and everything. So just have fun, send in stories, send in thoughts and ideas, whatever the case is. We love to hear from people. And again, if you're keeping track as far as the episode releases, I'm trying to catch up with the backlog. It'll get there. Just give me a little bit. I got family. I got kids. By God. I think that's about it. You have anything else to add, sir?
I have nothing.
All right. Well, with that said, let's get into it. Enjoy the show.
All right, the Rabblecast is back.
Yes, sir. And how are you?
Lousy, how are you?
Lousy. Yeah, I really can't complain. I complain enough as it is.
All right. Fair enough.
If there's one thing I've always taken away from different jobs, it's when people get frustrated, when people get annoyed, whatever the case is. So I'm like, hey, you can complain all you want. Just depends on who's going to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, yeah, good point. Like, it's more of a sarcastic comment, but sure. Take it as you will. But no, yeah, I can say I'm tired. I can say I'm exhausted. Thankfully, as far as us recording, tomorrow's Friday. I've been working my way through the backlog of the few episodes. Unfortunately, just things, got away from me as far as being able to sit down and edit without being pulled in 3 different directions. It happens. Jen
Yep.
has it much worse during the day with the kids, so it's a different story. When she actually has time to sit down and do her thing, it's great. But when the kids are all over the place, it's like, God damn it. Put that down. What are you doing? Why is it in your mouth? That kind of stuff. So, and it is true for anybody out there who does not have kids, plans to have kids, or whatever the case is. There is nothing faster on land than a toddler who has something in his hand about to put it in his mouth, and you're like, what are you doing? And suddenly they pop it in their mouth and they run off. Like, holy shit. So I always make the joke whenever our friend Dan is over, because he sees us when we're like trying to clean up or take care of the kids or get them ready for bed or whatever the case is. And it's always the joke of, don't have kids, Dan. Don't have kids. And he goes, no, I get it. Yeah, it's
That makes me think of that video from some years ago. It's like in a backyard somewhere, and some kid goes running by, some little kid, and the mother goes, kid turns around and just goes, "A knife!" And he just turns around and keeps running.
I, I buy it. I've seen some strange things with these kids. We were lucky. So, all right, we usually open up the show with little personal news and information. Our oldest, we got lucky because everybody kept saying, "Oh, watch out for terrible twos. Oh, look out for terrible threes. Oh, when they're a toddler, they're a handful." Our oldest was fantastic. Very nice, very polite, picked up on things pretty easily. Yeah, I mean, they acted out every now and then, but eventually, they learned and they were fine. So our oldest fooled us because we were expecting much worse behavior. Now, our second child, as I refer to as the youngest, he is a tornado. He is the Tasmanian devil cartoon character come to life. He will rip and destroy anything he can find in his path. He will put it in his mouth if it fits. He's always on the move doing something else. At one point, Jen went to go check on something. She was out of the room. When she comes back in, he's up to no good. As she's trying to clean up whatever no good he's doing here, he runs to the other room and starts getting into more mischief. So it just becomes like a ping pong effect where he's just bouncing all over the place. And wherever he has the least supervision is where he'll, mark his target and start tearing things apart. My computer desk has been ripped apart a few times. Jen's stuff's been ripped apart. She has a collection of markers that she uses for her artwork and different projects. He loves to take her markers out of the little marker stands that I made for her, pops the caps off, and then throw the marker across the room.
Huh.
I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? And it's a constant thing. He's finally getting to the point where he's understanding more. He goes along with certain instructions. When you tell him to do something, he's more apt to listen than before. But when he's doing something he's not supposed to, and you turn him, you get his attention, and he turns around, and you tell him no, he looks at you, and then he does this little screech, Matt. You're like, what the fuck was that? That's essentially him telling you fuck off. And he does that without breaking eye contact. He will stare you down, and you're just like, is this a challenge? What the hell is happening? You're like 3 feet tall. Go away. Or maybe 2.5. I don't know how tall a toddler is. But yeah, no, the two of them are funny. And they're no end of fun situations, funny moments, comedy. As a family, it's great. But oh boy, does the youngest test our patience, and especially Jen's. And it just gets to a point. You're just like, all right, I'm going to take him to the other room and have him chill out. There's a variety of methods when it comes to parenting. And one of the ones that I found works a lot, or actually very, very well, is when the child starts to act up and you can't get them to calm down and there starts to be screaming and yelling and carrying on, is you pick up the child and you move them to another room or away from the situation that's causing the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
That normally would work, but this child has learned how to throw his head backwards, so he does reverse headbutts. He flings his arms, so every now and then he catches you with a forearm or a backhand. You're like, well, he's attacking me as we're leaving the room. So, just like how my oldest at this point, I'm pretty sure has been gifted certain things, if you believe in epigenetics. I think I've mentioned this a few times. The idea that whatever you learn in your lifetime is somehow transferred or carried over through your genes. I've seen this because my oldest has been able to pull off some grappling moves that he has no clue what he's doing, but there's stuff that I knew very well. When he was a toddler, he used to be able to attempt an arm bar on me, and I always found it very funny because the strength wasn't there, but the technique was.
Interesting.
So the youngest also has all this information, again, if you believe in epigenetics. And at this point, I'm more terrified because he doesn't have the strength, but he does carry some momentum. And Jen and I have walked away with a blow to our eyebrow, a blow to our jaw. Just the stray blow. You're like, wow, that kid packs a punch for his size. Jesus Christ. So yeah, we got our hands full at times, but it's all good.
For a small fee, I will come to your house and straight beat the shit out of your youngest child. I will straight up beat him mercilessly and make sure he learns his lesson. He will know what the fuck is up.
Okay, so Doug, I'm going to tell you something that might terrify you.
Yeah.
The youngest loves moving my kettlebells.
How much do your kettlebells? What sizes do you have? I don't remember.
I have currently, I don't know where the other one went, but I have two 25-pound kettlebells and a 40-pound kettlebell. The 40-pound kettlebell is moved more often than not.
Huh. All right, he's off to a good start.
Yes, he is. And I'm afraid that one day he's going to start like twirling in circles while holding onto the handle and then fling it towards the wall. So again, his strength is impressive. His knowledge, in fact, his teacher, he's in pre-K, and the teacher's already said, like, he's intelligent. Like, the goals that we set for him, he's met them and above. So he should transition no problem next year. We are very pleased with him to the point where they have to now set new goals for him so he can accomplish them, because he's already gone through. The same thing was with our oldest. Whenever they set goals for them early in their pre-K careers or a year, they both have been doing fantastic. So as far as like their intelligence and comprehension, we couldn't be happier. They pick up on things. They're very smart. They absorb information like crazy. So in that respect, wow. Our oldest is doing really well at karate, thankfully. They've been telling us. He just went tonight. I was home with the youngest, and a mutual friend of ours was his sensei, or is his sensei, and she's been using him as an example for demonstrations where they do forms and techniques and everything. So
okay.
he went from being very shy, very timid, not sure what to do in a crowd. So now the classes have gotten bigger and bigger, but he has stepped up and he's listening. He, responds with yes, ma'am, whenever they give him direction. So all that's doing very, very well. And we couldn't be happier as far as that's concerned. He's getting his lessons in. He's learning the different forms and techniques and situations. Today he was learning how to get away from a bully if somebody goes to grab his forearm or twist his arm, whatever the case is, how to escape, how to defend himself. So it's just like, shit. I better step up my game again, because I've been working out, but he's learning more techniques than I've had the chance to learn. So we'll see what happens. But I don't know.
All right.
Would you like to jump in some news?
Sure. What the hell? Why not?
Let's get into it. Earlier this week, I was checking out, I think it was YouTube or whatever news popped up on my phone. I can't remember which one came first. But the one piece of news that I heard, and I was very, very surprised to hear, I believe it was on Monday of this week, that WWE has signed a deal with Netflix to stream Monday Night Raw come January next year. The title of the news bit was a little misleading at first, like starting January, like January 2025. Can we put that in the front, please? Because a lot of people are going to get confused and misled. But I can't remember exactly what the dollar amount. I think it was like $5 billion they were saying the deal's worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something new.
Yeah, multi-billion-dollar deal, they're saying. Now, the caveat for this is Monday Night Raw will now start to stream next year, 2025, on Netflix exclusively for 10 years, with the option for Netflix to opt out after 5 years. But also, at that point, I believe at the midway point, they have the option to extend it another 10 years. So it's all like the details and the contracts and everything else. The other thing I heard recently is they're going to be shutting down the WWE network. I believe, I don't know if it was in the U.S. or outside of the U.S. That was one that was tripping me up a little bit.
Outside of the U.S. It's been shut down in the U.S. for quite some time now.
Okay, thank you. I have watched it in a long time, so I kept taking advantage of the $10 deals while I could. or the free month, whatever they were offering. Come back, watch. But the question now is up in the air whether they're going to have access to the full archive on Netflix. Are they going to like carve out a little section for the WWE so you can watch all the old video libraries along with all the different rebroadcasts of pay-per-views, the archives of Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, Nitro, Thunder, and anything else that they had that was up on the network is currently on Peacock, because that's where everything was going. In fact, on the 27th is the Royal Rumble, which is going to be airing on Peacock. Is it really pay-per-view anymore? I guess just streaming now, right?
It's a premium live event.
Oh, is that what the PLE stands for?
Yes, sir.
Oh God. Okay, I'm behind the times. Premium live event will be streaming on Peacock on Saturday, January 27th. And again, I'm looking forward to it because my son's been asking about it. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to the Women's Rumble, the Men's Rumble, and then whatever other nonsense they throw in between. We'll see how that turns out. But Netflix scored big, I guess, or at least WWE scored big, because this is a great way to get more eyeballs if they don't have enough already. Because Netflix, I think, just posted for their quarter or for whatever the end of year, they had a record number of new subscribers. So when everybody was complaining, oh, they're cracking down on password sharing and you can't do this and you can't do that. If you're not in the same household, you can't share your password. That asks you for an additional charge in your account, which it's not like ridiculous. They're just giving you an additional fee, I guess, like the lowest tier to add onto your account. But who doesn't share passwords this day and age? Let's face it.
Well, here's another thing I figured out too about that whole thing with Netflix.
Sure.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, they crack down on the password sharing on streaming devices, not on computers.
Oh, good point. I didn't think about that.
I cannot use our buddy Jimmy as part of a deal we worked out some years ago. I'm on his Netflix account and have been for quite some time. I cannot watch it on my Roku, but I can watch it on my desktop computer.
See, I think that's because they know that a lot of people travel. And they figure that if they're going to be on the road in a hotel room, at a rest stop, or in an airport, they're going to want to be able to watch their entertainment. If they're on a laptop, especially, then they can just say, oh, I'm just going to watch Netflix. No, I'm not home because I'm on the road. I have to travel, whatever the case is. But I guess they can ping your phone or your laptop differently. It gives off a different signature, so they can tell when you're on a laptop or they can tell when you're on a mobile device. So, okay.
Well, in that case, they can ping me all I want, but my desktop computer is not moving any fucking where.
Well, yes. I would imagine a laptop and a desktop would give a similar signature at that point, if that's the case. But, all right, that's for all the people out there that need to know. Now you know. Don't do it. We're not endorsing this at all. At least I'm not. Maybe Doug might.
I am. I could give a fuck. It's also funny too. Actually, I saw a blurb online today that Netflix stock is currently, I think it's up around $560 a share.
You are correct.
Yeah, so they're considering the fact, I think it was about a year and a half ago. No, maybe 2 years ago at this point. They bottomed out around $250. So I said, fuck it, I'll grab a couple shares.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd snagged up some more.
Yeah, well, I was in the same boat. I bought there's a little too personal information. So I bought when it was lower than 200, because this was at one point, I don't know if they did a split or something, but the stock price went from about 600 a couple years back down to about $100. So I had sold off when it was higher. I figured I'd rebuy when it was lower. And then they had announced the password crackdown, and that's when they went from 600 back down to 200. And I was like, all right, I'll be patient. The only thing that sucks about a Netflix stock is that they don't have a dividend. So if you hold on to it, and you're just writing out the long game. But thankfully, eventually, things started rising back up. And I'm like, all right, maybe when they get back to around 600, I might ditch again. And now with the announcement of WWE and Netflix having their deal, even Jen had told me, like, oh, you should probably check your stock. And the very next day, like you'd said, it popped up. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Okay, so this might be a good time to get out because it'll be a big win for me at this point. My retirement account looks nice.
There you go.
At this point, jump back out, see what happens. It'll go back up no matter what, because Netflix does have this big ping pong thing that they like to do back and forth. But like I said, back when they had announced the password crackdown, everybody was like, oh, this sucks, and I'm not going to watch anymore. I'm going to cancel my subscription, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what changed, but it made a difference. It's working. They're getting more subscribers. They're getting more people. Their content's pretty well. They're adding more stuff here and there. The new films, the original projects, whatever the case is, they're making it work. In fact, there was, I don't remember where, I believe in Newark, New Jersey, they're building a studio out there for Netflix.
Really?
Yeah. Jen had given me a news clip at one point, or sent me a link, and was saying, oh, this might be a potential place to go check out, and who knows, maybe they might have a voiceover studio built in, so you never know. I'm like, hey, I'll keep my eye out on it, which is funny because one of the places that I recently applied to is out in Newark, so who knows.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Maybe the universe is moving me out in that direction, Doug. I don't know just yet. We'll find out. I don't know if you believe that kind of stuff, but
no, I don't.
Oh, okay, wow. Then maybe Indeed is sending me out that way.
The universe can go fuck itself.
I tend to agree with you sometimes, so we'll see. The other big piece of news coming out for WWE recently is the fact that news has leaked as far as what the plans for WrestleMania are this year.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring up something else. We got a lot to talk about this.
Oh week. Yeah, no, we do. I just figured to jump on this one a little bit.
All right, fire away there, fella.
The big reaction right now is how people are pissed off that Cody Rhodes apparently will not be headlining this year's WrestleMania because everybody was expecting him to rematch or have a rematch with Roman Reigns from last WrestleMania. Because if you were a fan and watched last year, people were saying that, oh, the loss that Cody suffered at WrestleMania to Roman Reigns, oh, his career is over, his storyline's done, blah, 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 he's not going to get another shot. Why did he ever leave AEW? Okay, again, wins and losses don't mean dick in wrestling, especially when it's all predetermined and nonsense. But it's already been said that Cody Rhodes, well, yes, he will not be facing Roman Reigns. Apparently The Rock is involved, and some leak happened through Sports Illustrated and close sources to Triple H. Nobody knows exactly what's going on except for the sources that are close. WWE is obviously upset with what happened, and they're trying to figure out what's going on because at this point, I think they're saying it's going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns going at it. I can see this turning into a swerve where maybe they leaked the information purposely.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have this huge uproar because apparently now there's like a fan campaign to try to change the match at WrestleMania. They don't want The Rock taking on Roman Reigns. They want Cody. Like the fans at this point just want what they want, and they're not going to take no for an answer, and they're going to stomp and act like little brats the whole way through. But I'm of two minds of this. Either this is a swerve where they're going to have something happen at the event and they're going to finally have Cody take on Roman Reigns, and who knows, maybe this might be his year. Or it is what it is on the surface, and that is leaked plans. Now they're a little upset. They're going to try to figure out some damage control and get back to what they want the show to be in a certain sense. Not necessarily Cody Rhodes at Mania. Who knows? We might have to wait until 2025 for that. But they'll figure out something along the way. So hopefully the fans aren't going to be too upset. And let's face it, the majority of them are going to watch anyway.
Well, here's something I heard a friend of mine bring up a couple of weeks ago on a different wrestling podcast.
Sure.
Apparently, there's going to be some type of a special event that the WWE is going to be running in Australia between now and WrestleMania. So one of the theories I've heard pitched is because it's a foreign market that they don't really have a lot of penetration into, that they're going to do Rock Roman Reigns so that way they can say, hey, here's a big event in Australia with The Rock on it, making his return to the ring in God, first time in I think 11 years or so, or thereabouts. Because I think the last time he actually did a match was about 2013, 2014.
Sounds about right.
So the one theory I've heard is they're bringing back The Rock to basically make sure that their Australian event is a success. Number one, or number two, and actually I'm perfectly fine with it being Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, just because I think it's hilarious that okay, I don't like Cody Rhodes. I thought he was a fine mid Carter. I just there's something about the guy that I've just never given a shit about. He can't cut a promo like his father. He can't work as well as his brother. He's just kind of there. Like he was fine when he was like dashing Cody Rhodes, and he was fine with the Rhodes Scholars. I think the most interest I ever had in him when he was doing Stardust, but I just don't give a shit about the guy. And he's one of those guys that I was like, you're not a fucking main event. Get the fuck out of here.
But Doug, the fans
What?
love him.
Nah.
It's his year.
If we've learned anything, Eric, we've learned wrestling fans are fucking morons. And they should be treated with as much scorn and contempt as otaku. Let's face facts here, my friend.
Yes, sir, Mr. McMahon. Anything you say.
Oh boy.
Would you like me to call in R-Truth so you can dance for you?
Good God. No, but here's the way I look at it. I'm like I said, like Cody's fine, but I find it a whole big thing about I'm going to go back to the WWE. I'm going to do what my father never did because he was always a mid-carder or upper mid-card guy. I'm going to finish the story. I'm going to, I want to have that big moment at WrestleMania where I'm holding the title and blah, 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 blah. And they end up doing at Mania this year because, the hot rumors I'm hearing are it's going to be Rock Roman for one night and then Punk Rollins the other night, which I'm fine with that, whatever. Especially, like, let's be honest here, Punk has a limited life shelf. They got to get everything they can out of that guy before it's too late. If they just kind of leave Cody kind of like flopping around like the upper mid card or something like that, I'm just going to giggle my balls off, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well,
but I do recognize that. The fans are basically kind of like taking to him better than they have in a while. So hey, if that's what they want to go with, fine. That's what they're going to go with. I don't know.
See, I'm the opinion right now that after Punk's return, unfortunately, Cody just got pushed down the totem pole, or the ladder, whatever you want to, analogy you want to use.
Correct.
He just got pushed further back in the line. And this whole, I'm going to finish the story, and they had that little biography they did for him on Peacock and everything else. They had the special screening, and it was a special event, whatever the case is. Okay, great. But this goes back to my whole thing of, look, if you weren't somebody's kid, you wouldn't be a damn thing in this business. You had mentioned before, like he did well he was Stardust. He can't cut a promo like his dad. He's a weird amalgamation of Dusty and Dustin.
With half the talent.
Well, he can pull off their moves very well.
Yeah, I mean, he's fine, but he's nowhere near the. He's definitely when it comes to Dusty, Dustin, and Cody. Yeah, he's definitely 3 out of 3 for that one.
But yeah, with Punk coming back, you're pushed down the ladder. With The Rock coming back, that's not doing any favors either. I think it was his comments where he's saying that he doesn't think The Rock's trying to get in his way, and maybe he's being naive about it. But no, if The Rock's coming back, it's going to help with the company. If he is Dusty's kid, then whatever is good for business is good for everyone overall. So anybody already saying, oh, The Rock coming back, this sucks because he's taking somebody's spot. Fuck you. Do you not understand that if The Rock comes back, he's going to bring a certain amount of eyeballs with him, a certain amount of viewers. And those people mean more people either subscribing to Peacock or buying tickets or whatever the case is. That just means more revenue for the company. So overall, that helps. If Cody's smart, because again, it's all predetermined, there's no set time when they're going to finish the storyline. Yes, he might get his time. And who knows? Maybe it's like you're saying. Maybe the Australian event will happen first and then something else will play out. Or maybe something will happen during WrestleMania. Again, I'm going to talk about the Sheamus and Daniel Bryan match where Daniel Bryan lost the title to Sheamus in the opening seconds of the match of WrestleMania. They'll want to keep it unpredictable so that you will have to watch the entire show because anything could happen. Could Cody go into WrestleMania not having a main event match and then suddenly challenge Roman Reigns by the end of the night? It's entirely possible. So anybody saying, oh, that he's screwed out of his storyline finish or he's not going to be able to close this chapter, again, give it time. If he's going to be in WWE for a while, if he's committed to being there, obviously they're paying him well. They're using him, maybe not to the way he, to the extent he would like, but he's making progress more so than I think he would have been able to do in AEW. So at the very least in WWE, he's pushing through certain names. He's having certain bouts. In AEW, not for nothing, because it's a newer crowd, a newer school or crop of wrestlers and performers. What does it mean when you beat some of the new guys? And it doesn't carry as much weight. You can have some great matches with some great tag teams and singles matches, but if you want to establish yourself, WWE is still carries a lot of weight. So he'll get there eventually. He's nowhere near Ric Flair's age, so he's got time.
No. and that's the exact thing you mentioned, and that's you made a point there. I think Cody is going to be 38 or 39 this year.
Yeah.
So we shall see how that breaks out. Oh, and just to follow up, I was on February 24th, WWE is going to be running the Elimination Chamber in Perth at the Optus Stadium.
Okay.
Which is interesting because, they're running Elimination Chambers always like one of the big, that's always like the last big event before Mania because it's about 5-6 weeks before it. And it's also interesting. It's going to be their first Australia show in 6 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Looks like, first event since October 2018.
Well, I was going to say, why did that take them so long? But then again, with everything happening with the pandemic, I'm sure that played into it quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. So whatever, and I just checked Wikipedia for that one, and there's absolutely nothing announced for it, not even the Elimination Chamber. But then again, I reckon you really can't, they'll probably start announcing that next week after, because anything you put up as a card for that is probably going to accidentally spoil some of the results of the Rumble on Saturday.
That's a good point. Yeah, because I remember when they were talking about, the first time I heard it mentioned, I believe it was one of the pay-per-views, was it? Not Survivor Series, when they were talking about it. And then as they were going, then, how do you promote an event with such short lead time? Well, like you said, it might spoil one of their marquee pay-per-view, or PLE events. So they don't want to give away certain results or certain ideas. Because, every now and then, if you were back in the day, when the internet was becoming more prevalent for wrestling, if you were going on the news boards and you were going to a house show, you would have certain things kind of spoiled for you because you knew if something happened at a house event, then what was going to be taking place on Monday night or on SmackDown. And it didn't take much to do the math. If somebody shows up with a title or somebody shows up in a tag team, whatever the case is, you had an idea where a storyline was going. But let's also not forget that every now and then, back in the day, I don't know if they still do it these days, but house events sometimes would have their own, I guess you can say, continuity in a way. Because sometimes they would do some silly stuff that was not regularly done on television. They would pull different stunts, or sometimes they would even have, quick title changes. And you're just here out of nowhere, somebody just won the United States title, or someone just won the Cruiserweight. And you're like, what the hell is going on? And I'm using WCW titles. That's my brain went. But certain titles would change hand. The European title, whatever the case is, it's not a huge title, but sometimes there were big title changes. It was just a way to shake things up and keep fans guessing. So, but it's just a tight time frame for them with less than a month at that point. Yeah, because if you said the 24th in February.
Yeah, that's month yesterday.
Yeah, so less than a month for them to announce that card after this weekend and say what's going to be happening. And at that point, hope to God they sell enough tickets, because otherwise it's going to be them, moving fans to another side of the arena and trying to get everybody to fill up this one section, and everybody just look at the camera and yell and hold your signs and be happy, goddammit. Because otherwise, it's going to look very sparse. It's going to look like an old TNA event whenever they rented out a quarter of an arena. So, no, I'm again with all the different things happening, especially now that things have changed over a little bit. It's becoming more exciting. Some of the news is starting to catch up to some of the things behind the scenes that have been happening. One of which is now The Rock, or I should say, Dwayne Johnson, has now been appointed as one of the board members of TKO. So now he sits atop, along with everybody else, of the UFC and WWE. I'm not sure if that's a financial move or just either they're trying to get more optics and saying, hey, this makes sense. Or let's face it, like the old guard has finally become old enough where they now sit in positions of power. And with that board appointment to TKO, he also has now been given the ownership of his old name, The Rock. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly how that's going to work for him. I don't know, because if he's done so much to build his own name. I don't want to use the word brand, but Dwayne Johnson has become very, very strong in Hollywood and business. He's got different ventures going on. Not only does he have a production company with his ex-wife, he and his ex-wife also own the XFL at this point, which is being combined with the American Football League. So they're going to have a pretty big season after the NFL finishes up this season. Dwayne Johnson, the name itself, has become very, very, very known. I don't know if he really needs The Rock added to it again. I mean, granted, we all know him as The Rock. That's how well and the two have meshed together. It's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But it's like, oh shit, like without Vince, they're starting to open up the vault. Like, yeah, you want some stuff? Go ahead and grab it. So, who knows? Maybe Triple H is going to save the WWE. Maybe he is going to put it in a direction that it desperately needs to go. I hope.
Maybe it's good to have somebody in there who's not like a psychopath who lives in just his own little bubble. So I don't know.
Well, again, when Triple H was in charge of NXT and the booking and everything he was doing over there and the people that he appointed, NXT got a lot of, great reviews and reactions. A lot of those events, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch many of them, but you had some future stars being built there and they were being built well. The storylines, the characters, they were being crafted, but there was always that, the lack of follow through when they went to the main roster if they didn't have something in place. And that was either the writers or creative, whatever the case was, just didn't know how to bring these characters up to, live TV or whatever the case. And now it seems like with Triple H having his hands in everything, not just NXT, that things are hopefully start to play out better. We'll have better transitions, better builds, better storylines. They're trying different things now. And yes, people are going back to the whole Cody thing. Like, oh, you would have thought that with Triple H in charge, this kind of thing wouldn't have happened. Again, we don't know what the full story is. We don't know what is going on behind the scenes. Maybe it was a leak. Maybe it wasn't. Be patient, people. It's such a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, they're screwing Cody. Again, go back to our comments before. Cody, he's made a name for himself. He's done well for himself. Anytime you watch a Cody Rhodes match, I mean, if you're a fan, you're a fan. Not to yuck somebody else's yum. You enjoy him, great, fantastic. He just hasn't been, off the charts as far as I guess Doug and I are concerned. We're agreed on that one at the very least. But
I think so. I mean, he's just one of those guys. He's, like I said, he's just never really done anything for me. It's quite funny. I've got the 2008 Royal Rumble on in the background, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching a really young Cody Rhodes because he would have been in his mid-20s at that point, rolling around with Snitsky, if you remember that dude.
Gene Snitsky.
Yep.
I got to meet him one time at an indie show. He was pretty cool.
I've heard he's actually a pretty solid dude. Yeah, because he was actually he cut his teeth up where I grew up, working for Alpha and the Samoans. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, we're not going to know anything until after Saturday when we have the Rumble. It's going to be cool. The Rumble's always fun because it is the most accessible wrestling to watch for somebody who's not really a wrestling fan because it's not your traditional matches. So it's always a good time. I enjoy watching them. That's like one of the few events I actually watch live these days. So
One of the things I miss, and I got to try to figure out how I can do this year. When we had people come over and we had a get together, one of the things I missed the most is depending on how many people were in the room watching the show, we would put numbers, on a notebook, and everybody would draw numbers, and you'd write whoever drew whatever number. So in the Rumble match, 1 through 30, you can get, depending on the size of the crowd, you can get 2, maybe 3 numbers for the night. You pay $1 per number, and then from there, whoever your wrestler is, as they become revealed during the event, you had a chance to win the jackpot. So I think like one year was like $30, another year we went $2, so it was like $60, whatever the case is. So it was just a fun little buy-in to see what would happen, and depending on what number you got. If you got number 1, you had a really good shot if they were going to do the whole marathon of he survived the entire Rumble. If you got numbers 28 through 30, you also had a really good shot because for some reason, the in-between numbers really don't win the Rumble that often. So it's just the way they pick them as far as booking is concerned. But I miss being able to have that little community pot, I guess you can say, where everybody would just put in a couple bucks and see who wins. And it's all good in good fun. So at the end of the night, somebody would walk away with 30 or $60, depending on what's going on. I got to find the thing online. Maybe I can like Venmo somebody $1 or two. I'm like, hey, get me in on this fucking Royal Rumble draw this year. I missed that. That was one of the fun things about the Rumble itself. And again, because it's so gimmicky. Between that, the Elimination Chamber, Hell in a Cell, the gimmicky matches get to be exciting sometimes if they're done right. And the Rumble, more often than not, is a lot of fun, especially if they follow the, a few wrestlers come into the ring, they start going at it. If it's a tag team, the tag teams might have to face each other or work with one another. Eventually you have a crowd in the ring, you have a big monster come in and clear out the entire ring, and then they build back up. So there's a certain like booking flow that goes with the Rumble itself, that when it's done right, you're like, oh man, who's next? And my favorite is when anybody goes, it wasn't 2 minutes, they went early, or they went too late. It's like, all right, relax, guys. You realize the show's predetermined. Enjoy what it is.
Well, it's one of those things where, unfortunately, it's last year, as soon as Cody Rhodes made his big return when he came back from the pectoral tear, it was like, well, shit, we know who's going to win this one. So, those, unfortunately, some of those things tend to telegraph what's going to happen in the match. Like this year, a lot of people are already calling it like, oh, Punk's going to win this year because that's how he's going to get to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Is that the case? I don't know. Should it be fun to see it on the way there? Should be. I mean, I'm of the mentality that the Rumbles have lost a little something when, since Pat Patterson, who was the guy who invented the match and also was very good at structuring it, not just in terms of, oh, okay, here's who we got for the main event, how do we get them there? But also basically using a lot of different sections of the Rumble to set up other matches going into the Mania season or doing other stuff like that. So, it did it lose a little something? Possibly, but Jesus fucking Christ. Sorry. I forgot Roddy Piper and Jimmy Snuka were both in this Rumble as well. Anyway.
Truth be told, I was watching one of the Rumbles. Oh, God, I can't remember. It was one from the late 90s. Because it had the thumbnail for it that I saw on YouTube was Vader body pressing Shawn Michaels over his head. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll watch that again. And it's just funny to see some of the old guys get back in there and just like, wow, this is like not only is it a blast from the past, but you're looking at it with today's filter, and you're just realizing just how different wrestling was back then.
Yeah.
Some of the matches were a little bit slower. Some of the punches were more obvious, that they weren't landing as hard, whatever the case was. But every now and then you'd see somebody just get clobbered. You're like, oh man, somebody's got a beef with that person.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was watching Diesel or Kevin Nash. I can't remember who he started laying into. I want to say it was Savio Vega under a mask, but they're about to
Oh,
get
Karate Master Quang.
yes, and they're about to eliminate Diesel, and all of a sudden Diesel just like laying in forearms, but they're like snug as hell to the point where Vega's head's like shaking. I think it was Vega. Don't get me wrong. It might have been something else, but just immediately you just saw the contact with the forearms. Like, oof, somebody was pissed. And just using his size and not holding it back whatsoever.
I
But
think that was 96.
I think was I watching two different ones? I want to say I was watching 96 and 98 on separate nights.
Because 98, okay, 96. So 95 through 98 were the back-to-back years. Sean won 95 and 96. Austin won 97, 98. Sean was not in the Rumble in 97 or 98. In 97, he re-won the world title from Psycho Sid, and in 98 he was having the casket match with The Undertaker, which he famously and if you go back and watch the bump he takes out of the ring where his back bounces off the casket, it is fucking gross.
Yeah.
But yeah, 95, Vader wasn't there yet, so I'm pretty sure it was the 96 Rumble because that was the last one that Sean won.
I'm gonna have to agree with you because I don't remember off the top of my head.
No worries. This is I've been really going through Rumbles lately and just kind of re-upping on them, rewatching. I've rewatched the 97 Rumble twice in the last month.
Oh wow. Okay.
97 Rumble is a really weird one, and I'm really a big fan of it. It's business was, according to legend, business was really, really in the toilet for the WWE at that point. The NWO thing in WCW was crushing them. So they were basically giving away tickets to the fucking try to fill up the Alamo Dome down in San Antonio. Even to the point where this ticket sales were so bad, they actually called up Mil Mascaras and hired a bunch of luchadors to come in trying to get hopefully try to bring in some of the more lucha fans just to come in and check out the show.
We need the rub.
Yeah, that was basically it. They were just basically okay, who's some people who are hot around this area? Send them to us. We'll pay them to be on the show. But it's wild because at one point in the ring, in the 97 Rumble, you have Bret Hart, Steve Austin, Rocky Maivia, Mick Foley, Terry Funk, Vader, Triple H, when he was still Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and the fucking Undertaker. You have honestly, you have some crazy ass star power in that match, but it was at a point when everybody was still figuring stuff out, or they were on the upswing, or they were at a down period in their career or whatever. But yeah, it's really an interesting oddity of a Rumble, but I really dig that one. Anyway, sorry for the side tangent.
No, not at all. That's just hearing those names alone in that era. You're like, wow, you had some star power right there as far as wrestling is concerned. So
Hell yeah.
I have not been listening to the news as far as the surprises because some of them have apparently already been leaked. Who is going to be returning for the Rumble? One was Jade Cargill is supposedly going to make her appearance at the Ladies Rumble. So I'm looking forward to that one. Former AEW star. And so far they're trying to make it a special event. I heard Hulk Hogan's name thrown around here and there. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. I would hope that they're not going to be dependent upon some of the older stars at this point, because let's face it, what do they really need from the older stars right now that they can't get with some of the new guys building them up first? I get, again, the rub is one thing, trying to bring Hogan in to try to help people out, but Hogan is not notorious for giving somebody the rub. He's very formulaic. He'll come out there, he'll amp up the fans, yeah, sure, but it'll all be his moment, and that's about it. So
yeah, that's not going to work for me, brother. Yeah.
So I hope that maybe if he's there, maybe a fan signing event or something like that. Okay, sure, let him get his paycheck for the day, whatever the case is. But keep him away from the cameras. Keep him away from the live event. Just let the show go on. They've done so well so far building the current crop of wrestlers that I don't think they need to delve into some of the older guard at this point. even Triple H at
No.
this point, I don't think it, really makes an appearance unless it's something that needs to be done. So, and then again with his heart scare, what was it, last year?
I think it was about a year and a half ago, and yeah, I want to say it was 2022 that they had to give him the old pacemaker.
Yeah, and it's just like one of those things where if you don't have to be in front of the crowd, if you don't have to, be in that situation, just stay in the back and coordinate and, make sure that everything goes to plan, or at the very least, come up with a backup or a failsafe if something doesn't go to plan.
Hmm.
He's been doing well so as far as all that's concerned. There's no reason for him to be in the ring. What the? If anybody can hear the ambulance in the background, I apologize.
I
So
didn't even hear it, so.
it just popped up in my headphones right now. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So it's a little bit further away in town, but something's going on. But no, I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen. And some of the recent news, like I said, has been very, very positive for the
Hmm.
WWE. I've been hearing a few things here and there that are encouraging. So a lot of people are already saying that, oh, screw WWE, we're going to be watching AEW instead. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's the whole tribalism thing. You're either this group or that group. If you're a wrestling fan, you can watch both.
Hmm.
You can
Yeah.
watch whatever you want. You don't have to be this or that. So if you're into wrestling, watch the Rumble, then go back and watch AEW all you want. But there's no reason to shit on one or the other. So
And actually, that's one of the things that really irritates the shit out of me these days. It's that there's these people who are such WWE fanboys that they're like, "Oh, this is the death of AEW. AEW is going out of business. AEW sucks. If you work at AEW, you're a piece of shit." It's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, relax. It's if you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. That's fine.
yeah,
But what people don't really understand is competition's good if for nothing else. I don't know how much Cody got paid to jump back over, but rumor was it was in the seven-figure range. If nothing else, good for Cody Rhodes that he's getting paid. A guy who probably was making back when he was doing Stardust, he was probably making low six figures at best. I'm probably being generous because he was, Dusty's kid, but he was making a ton of money. There was a story floating around that before Kevin Owens re-signed the other year, he basically like put out a couple of cryptic tweets making reference to AEW's because he's friends with the Young Bucks. So whether or not he was actually planning on leaving or if he just kind of planted that out there to give himself an advantage at the bargaining table and got himself a nice contract, good for him. I hope all those guys, whether or not I like them, I hope they all make fucking money. Good for fucking them. So people don't realize, like, because I mean, for that entire stretch of time, you either worked for the WWE, you dealt with Impact, which you you went out and worked the Indies, or you went to Japan and hoped for the best, and that was pretty much your only option. So how people don't realize that having another major promotion in the United States is good. I just don't get what the fuck is wrong with people. But it's also funny because there are wrestling fans out there who were not alive or were babies when WCW went out of business. So, which,
wow, yeah, I didn't think of that. That's weird.
yeah, I mean, like if you're like let's say you're a 22-year-old wrestling fan in the year 2024. That means your mother was probably pregnant with you when WCW was purchased by the WWE. You know,
That's crazy.
I know, but you think about it, and there's that whole generation of wrestling fans, or even if you're older than that, you were brought up. If you started watching wrestling when you were in 2003 or 4 when you were a little kid, you were conditioned just to the WWE product. For old timers like us, we saw both products, and you can see the differences in how both of them worked. And that was one of the big things. I mean, like when I started watching wrestling, WWF was the land of the giants with Hogan and Andre and all the guys like that. And WCW, it was like smaller guys, their physiques, but they had these gnarly, intense, bloody fights. So it was just like, holy shit, this is, I like both. I'll watch both. This is cool.
Again, it depending on your tastes,
Hmm.
Back to watching WCW when you had all the lucha stuff that was fun. The mid carders, they had their own style, and then you had the slower heavy hitters for the main events. Uh, TNA, they had all the acrobatics with the X Division, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, all those guys. That group like revolutionized that part of wrestling for TNA. It pretty much put them on the map. But
Hmm.
it was all a breath of fresh air compared to WWE. Even AEW, with again the newer class, is still newer guys out there, newer performers, people that are trying a bunch of different things. I wish I was more into it these days as I was back when we were doing it as regular news coverage and as far as show content, but I just don't
Hmm.
have the time to dedicate to that many hours of wrestling nowadays.
No, that's exactly it. I mean, it's a lot of content to watch. I mean, just from AEW alone, I think they're up to like 5 hours of television a week.
Wow, really? How long
Yeah, well, you've
is
got
Dynamite and then the other one?
Dynamite is either an hour or 2 hours. Collision, I think, is 2 hours. There's another show in there. I think there's two 2 hour shows and a 1 hour show.
Okay, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. I don't watch. I just basically get recap. I was just like poke around online, check the recaps, and if somebody tells me, "Yo, check this out," I'll go watch it because yeah, I don't have the goddamn time either. So
Hey, look, if you could watch it, if you can keep up with everything, because even some of the news channels that I watch on YouTube, when they start going through all the different news bits, there's so much in there that's like not really essential news.
uh-huh.
There was one clip that was playing. It wasn't even like a news bit, but it was more like an opinion piece where they're talking about when wrestlers get their intro themes changed. Like when they first like they're big and they have like a certain impact to them, and then they give them a different type of song or they downgrade the song and like oh, no, it's not as. It's like it doesn't change the wrestler
Hmm.
just because the music changes doesn't. Like if that was the case, I would never like continue watching AJ Styles in WWE. His music in WWE was like whatever.
Yeah, that weird like gospel hip hop kind of deal thing, whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not great, but it doesn't change what AJ does in the ring, so you still enjoy watching him. But one of the examples they gave was Carlito Cool when he first came out. I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool, and
Hmm.
then whatever generic tropical music they gave him when he made his return not too long ago. People were like, oh, they downgraded him. He's not as good. I'm like, again, his ability in ring is not not dictated by the music that they play for him.
But you got to admit though that the theme music does kind of like number one, it helps sets the flavor of the guy, and number two, it kind of if you hear somebody's theme music and you spend part of the time being like, who is this again? It does take something out of it.
No,
Like there's some theme musics when you hear it, you just kind of be like, oh shit, here we go.
I agree, which is why, like back in the day when they were coming up with the theme songs in house, was it Jim Johnson? What was the guy who used to do all the music?
Yeah, Jim Johnston and also Jimmy Hart was working with them, but I involved in it.
Like one of the things I remember hearing back in the day when they were interviewing him, when he's talking about like the music for Big Vader, like I just want like this hard hitting like plotting music when he comes out like dun dun like they play a clip of Vader's music like oh that matches like, that gives you the idea of Vader's this big menacing monster coming out about to destroy something. um
Hmm.
Hell, there's a reason why we were in Delaware one time and the company didn't bring all the music for whatever reason, so if you had a copy great, if not you had to pick a new music for, a song for the night. And it was me. Oh God, who was I tagging with? I don't remember now. But like the guy said, just go through the CDs and whatever song you want, we'll play for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going through and I found Ministry, and here's a Native American character coming out with another generic wrestling character coming out to Jesus Built My Hot Rod. It got the crowd excited for the people who knew Ministry, but otherwise people were like, what the hell's going on? It does set the mood. You're right. But I'm just like, the way the video that I was watching was saying was like, oh, it severely hurts their reaction with the fans. I'm like, yes and no. If you're a fan of somebody, you're gonna watch them regardless. But you are correct in saying that it sets the mood, it sets the tone, and from there it'll get you amped up. That's why the glass breaking when Stone Cold comes out, that's still something the fans get excited over. When The Rock, you hear, if you can smell what The Rock is cooking, that whole thing. Those moments, those intros, those initial impacts of those intros of the songs do set the tone and already put in your mind, oh shit, something's about to happen. When the flames will go off for Kane, you're like, oh goddamn, the big red machine's coming out, stuff like that. I get it, but them saying that, oh, just because they downgraded the song, like that if that has any indication on the wrestling ability of the performer itself, just like, you guys are smoking crack.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I don't know. Were there any other news pieces? Did I miss something besides that?
Well, there's still the big one. There's still the 600-pound elephant in the room to talk about.
Am I missing something? What did I forget?
The lawsuit against Vince McMahon.
No, I didn't hear about this.
Oh, geez.
Please educate me, sir.
Okay, so a lawsuit has been filed. Let me pull up. I had some of the details worked up from it. Hold on a second. Where were you? So these are new allegations against Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis in regards to the hush money situation from a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's put it this way. These are pretty fucking ugly. In one of the clips I saw from the lawsuit that was filed January 25th, which is today, in June 2021, McMahon and defendant Laurinaitis sexually assaulted Mrs. Grant inside Laurinaitis' office in WWE headquarters while colleagues were busy at their desks. Behind a locked door, the two men cornered her and pulled her in between them, forcibly touched her, before finally putting her on top of a table between them. She begged them to stop, but they forced themselves on her, each taking turns restraining her for the other, while saying no means yes and take it, bitch.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Their Vince would send these incredibly sexually explicit text messages to her, basically of all kinds of sexually degrading stuff like you can't even imagine. And apparently there were also allegations where at one point in time Vince had some sexually explicit photos of her, and he showed them to Brock Lesnar as a way to convince Brock Lesnar to re-sign with the company, with the kind of agreement being, well, yeah, you give me the money and also you set me up with this lady so I can fuck her, then I'll re-sign with you. So there's a lot of crazy ass stuff coming out in terms of this whole situation. I'm trying to find the original article for this, but yeah, this one's pretty bad because this kind of bleeds back into that whole situation of why Vince was ousted from the company a year and a half ago, way back in August of 2022.
Yeah.
Because this is what a lot of that, the irregular accounting practices and all that hush money that came up. This was, this was where everything came up. Jesus fucking Christ, can I get an ad that doesn't have 19 fucking advertisements on top of it? Jesus fucking hell.
I found one here from Deadline if you want me to read off a little bit.
Yeah, fire away. Once I gotta get a drink. My throat's a little bit fucking dry.
Sure, no problem. This one says, this is updated from earlier, so this is a bunch of updates. Jesus. The following a harrowing sexual assault and sex trafficking lawsuit filed Thursday against Vince McMahon and World Wrestling Entertainment by former WWE staff member, both the wrestling mogul and current WWE owners TKO Group Holdings, has just now broken its silence on the grisly claims. The lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth, a spokesman for McMahon said today. He will vigorously defend himself. Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of WWE. A TKO spokesperson told Deadline this afternoon regarding the company's executive chairman, while this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very seriously and are addressing this matter internally. So what was the update from earlier today? Let's see here. It says... Oh, no, that was the update. It says otherwise contains extremely sexual explicit details of the lawsuit against WWE founder Vince McMahon. Well, I guess what? If he got that fucking payday after he sold the company, he's about to get emptied out severely. Holy shit.
Yeah, this one's yeah, so let's see. Here, here's the CNN article. I finally got this one to come up. Former WWE staffer has accused the company's founder, Vince McMahon, of sexual assault, trafficking, and physical abuse in a lawsuit filed Thursday. The new disturbing allegations from Janelle Grant, who worked at WWE's headquarters, come from more than a year after the conclusion of a WWE-appointed special committee investigation into Vince McMahon's alleged misconduct while serving as chairman and CEO of the company. McMahon retired from the role amid the investigation in July 2022, but has since returned as chair of WWE's parent company. In a lawsuit filed in Connecticut District Court, Grant alleged that McMahon promised a job and later promotions at WWE in exchange for sex. Grant's lawsuit also includes allegations that McMahon trafficked her to other men inside and outside the company, including John Laurinaitis, former wrestler who worked in the company's talent relations department. Grant's lawsuit also includes allegations that McMahon trafficked her to other men inside and outside the company, including John Laurinaitis, a former wrestler who worked in the company's talent relations department, who was also named as a defendant in the lawsuit. At the end of her employment and their sexual relationship, McMahon allegedly pressured Grant into signing a non-disclosure agreement in exchange for payments over several years, totaling $3 million, according to the lawsuit.
Shit.
Yeah, so, I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. I don't know, but I hate to say it. This kind of thing, if it was somebody, I usually err on the side of trying to follow the victim unless there's something screamingly obvious about it being like fake. But let's be honest here. Knowing what we know about Vince McMahon, none of this is shocking.
No, and that's just it. Like, the locker room behavior has been carried on for so long, especially with Vince and Laurinaitis, that if you hear any of the stories from back in the day when something would happen, whether it be against a female performer or playing a prank on somebody, or the world of wrestling is an ugly, ugly place behind the scenes sometimes. And
yeah,
we're talking about more of the old school guys or the older guard at this point. So like the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, all those 90s and in the early 2000s. A lot of that stuff was still being carried on, and yeah, I mean, I'm surprised I didn't hear about this sooner. To be honest, I this one completely flew under my radar. I didn't realize what was going on, but I feel bad now for TKO because imagine being the new owners of the company, and yeah, this whole thing was going on beforehand, as far as the investigation is concerned. So I'm sure they had an idea that something was going to come of it. Or was they were gonna have to deal with it at a certain point. But I don't know. I hope it doesn't cast a bad light on what they're trying to do now, because they're trying to be more responsible. They're trying to be more accountable as far as certain things are concerned. They're trying to take care of the performers, not just on screen, but also behind the cameras, backstage. That whatever Vince did back in the day, let's face it, like I'm sure a lot of stuff happened along these lines, and we're just now hearing a lot about these instances. So, if you want to say, innocent until proven guilty, sure. But Vince has not given you great cause to believe otherwise right now.
No, it's given everything we know about Vince. Like I said, as a friend of mine texted me this earlier today and told me about this, and my text back was, "I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed."
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. Exactly.
Yeah, so I hate to say it, but none of this seems out of character for Vince, and also, given the fact that now you're talking about, the era of Vince being on top of the empire and kind of being able to do whatever he wants because he's Vince. Those days are long gone. I mean, he's a board member of an organization that's now bigger than him. So will this lead to him being ousted from the board again? It's quite possible. So I could definitely see TKO basically just coming out with this entire thing being like, just get the fuck out of here. Like we're trying to, we have enough problems with trying to run this organization as it is. We don't need your ass in here to fucking it up. So get the fuck on. So.
Yeah, it would make sense at this point. Why would you hold on to something that's going to hurt the company so bad. And with this coming out, whatever he tried paying her by forcing her to sign the NDA,
Uh-huh.
like that's just going to skyrocket now with this lawsuit. Whoever her team is, whoever her lawyer is, I'm sure they're going to go for the jugular because they know that Vince has the money at this point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, man, that sucks. It sucks for her. I just cannot. I hate to say this, but I can almost see like uh, the motion picture of this. If they were to do based on true events, and Laurinaitis and Vince taking this lady into the office, and all of a sudden closing the door, and then while everybody else is at their desk or cubicle working, like this horrendous thing happening in the other office. It just it's horrifying. So,
Yep.
but in the world of professional wrestling, we've mentioned a few times that it's just some dirty, ugly people there, and it's a lot of times it's the people who are the gatekeepers and the people that you have to suck up to try to get somewhere. It's probably not as bad as it was back in the day now, but these were realities. These were, oh, fuck. Sorry, that just hearing what you read, and then reading through the article that I found here on Deadline, especially, it's just like horrible fucking shit happening, man. And
be glad I didn't read you the text message. It's really nasty. So,
yeah, geez. I'll probably end up reading it later on. I just don't. I don't know. Well, I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with this one because, like you said, I don't doubt the TKO is gonna say, "Screw it, let's hold a vote, get him out of there." They'll probably replace him with somebody else on the board, but they're gonna want to try to carry on and do business as usual and try to separate themselves. They even said in the release, this is before we came into control of the company, so we're trying to deal with this internally and see what's going on, but this is not a good look. So,
nope.
With everything else happening as far as The Rock and Netflix and all this money that's going around, yeah, that's some big money deals, and I'm sure they're gonna have to pay out a certain amount now just to make this go away. If it's not settled before it goes to court, then it's definitely going to be expensive for Vince and his team. So shit.
Yeah, this is another. Yeah, this is the problem. Is with all the news going on this week, this is not the kind of news you want either in the headlines going on as well. So,
No,
we shall see how this one plays out. But yeah, I think this might be Vince McMahon, if I'm doing the math correctly, he'll be 79 this year. I think it's very well about time and he's worth probably like $2 or $3 billion at this point. He needs to just go the fuck away. Like, seriously, like, I don't know what the hell he's even still doing, as a part of the board. Like, I don't know exactly what his capacity is. Like, most board of directors is not a full-time job, but he really just needs to get the fuck out of there and just walk away. But
he's been making appearances here and there, and the one that I saw that was pictures were taken when he was at an event with the Undertaker, and Vince, still has the mustache and walking around with a cane. Like, I don't know if his age is finally catching up to him, but yeah, you're right. I mean, he's starting to become a cliche of his own performers, and that is, you stay around too long, and for what? You have nothing else to give at this point. So yeah, you've got your money, you've got your payday, you were on top of the mountain for so long. With the purchase of the WWE by TKO Group Holdings, just go home. Go. I don't know what your relationship is with your wife anymore at this point. If that's not working out for you, go to whatever beach house or vacation home you have. Go somewhere and just spend your money, dude.
yeah, at this point, something tells me, yeah, him and Linda have had pretty just for appearance for quite some years now. Yeah, like Linda can have the mansion in Connecticut, Vince can have the fucking mansion down in Boca, and there you go. They could just both go, yeah, they would go their separate ways and just go do what they got to do. Because, little known fact, after she stepped down from the head of the Small Business Administration back in 2018 or 2019, Yeah, she went and she's been running this pretty. I can't remember which one it is, but it's a political action committee that's pro-Trump. So that's what she's been up to last of my knowledge.
Oh, jeez.
Well, she was, as we all remember, they spent about $90 million trying to get her a Senate seat in for Connecticut,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah, Republicans don't win that much in Connecticut. So
That was, I mean, you could blame that for being the start of the PG era, because they were trying to clean up the company as far as a lot of the sexual innuendos and a lot of the bleeding during matches and some of the language. They were trying to make sure that it was more family friendly, or at least, you know, kid accessible at that point.
yeah,
So I don't know, and that's a good example of just trying to use your influence at that point that you've built up over time, thinking that you could just parlay that into a Senate seat. I can see where the logistics were, and they were hoping that that would benefit the company in the long run, but not did not go the way they planned. They spent a lot of money, and it just didn't make a hell of a lot of sense uh, after the fact, especially because, well, she didn't get the seat. So,
no,
but yeah, and you remember you mentioned Boca Raton having the one vacation home down there. There was a few years ago where Vince had another lawsuit down in Boca Raton because I think he went to like a masseuse down there, and they were claiming that he was, you know, acting out of down there as well. And that was
oh
another
yeah,
instance
I,
of money being paid out, and it was settled at a court, and they kept it hush hush.
I forgot about that one. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There's a friend of mine. She bought a book called Ringmaster. It's not about Steve Austin's first failed gimmick in the WWF.
Thank you.
Apparently, it's a tell-all book that basically outlines like all of the sleazy shit that we're aware of Vince doing over the last 40 years. Um, if you've ever listened to the podcast Behind the Bastards, which basically chronicles like some of the shittiest people in history, that was a major piece of source material for the person who runs that podcast when they did their giant. I think it was like a five part series on Vince McMahon and what a fucking scumbag he is.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm hoping to borrow that book from them when they're finished reading it.
All right, well, let me know how it turns out. Because, now I'm waiting for Vice TV to do another like little expose on Vince. It's only going to be a matter of time before they
Because
go further.
The whatchamacallit, Vice, Dark Side of the Ring just announced it. The new season is going to be starting up in the next I think month or two.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll be like, all right, we got plenty of material for a season.
With this coming out and everything else that I'm sure they're going to be able to uncover, and a lot of this stuff's going to be leaked or just revealed. Yeah. Oh man. Like I said, if it's not turned into like a based on true events movie or series or along those lines, I'll be surprised, because Vince has just had a history of crazy stuff left and right, and I would not be surprised that somebody goes, "Oh, this would make a great series," or "This would make a great story." Yes, it would, because it's just as crazy, and the stuff that you hear from behind the scenes, close sources, I'm sure is just more salacious. So, fuck,
it's fucking crazy shit, Matt. Yeah.
Well, I hope Miss Grant is able to weather the storm and find the justice that she needs. And Vince, you done fucked up. Allegedly. So, yeah, we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Not exactly the way I was hoping to end the podcast tonight on the downer. But we'll see what happens. Again, by the time this comes out, the Rumble would have already come and gone. So I'm hoping the Rumble itself is a fun show, and I hope that sets up a nice road to WrestleMania. I always enjoy the time between the two, and because I am getting a little bit more interested again with my son wanting to watch, then hopefully we'll enjoy that and going through. For some reason, I had it in the back of my head. I'm like, Royal Rumble, they're gonna have 2 nights. Oh no, that's WrestleMania, not Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble's one night.
Don't give him any ideas.
I don't mind when they do the 2 nights for WrestleMania. I kind of enjoy it because it lets you space out the excitement a little bit more. I mean, yeah, you have to restart the second night and try to build up that momentum, whatever you had from the first night. But hopefully, if you do a good enough job on night 1, then night 2, you're just like, let's get back into it, and hopefully you just pick up from where you left off. But yeah, no, I'm hopeful. Whether it's Punk, Cody, I think Drew McIntyre's screwed.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He's like, if you want to talk about going to the back of the line, he definitely went to the back of the line. There's just a bunch of other names that if they want to build a big event for Mania, they gotta get their shit together and make sure that they make plans that stick, and hopefully nobody gets injured between now and then, and everything goes to plan. So we'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do think we've hit our mark for tonight, sir. How do you feel?
Tired and ready for bed.
Yes, me too. We're getting old.
We're all fucking idiots now. Yeah. Fuck.
If you made it this far, thank you for listening. My name is Eric Hernandez.
I'm Doug.
And we are the Rabblecast.